When a winter storm pins everyone inside a tipi, and the world beyond is a white wall of wind and ice, one practical question becomes urgent. How do you use the bathroom without risking frostbite or a dangerous trip outside? This is not trivia. It is a life or death problem in regions where night temperatures can drop fast, and the nearest privacy is buried under snow. Far from being improvised or shameful, indigenous people developed clear, repeatable, and effective solutions for these moments. The strategies were pragmatic, low-tech, biodegradable, and designed to preserve the sacred, clean interior of the tipi. They were used sparingly, and only when weather or danger made stepping outside impossible. These were contingency systems, not everyday conveniences, that enabled families to maintain hygiene, dignity, and health until conditions allowed proper disposal outside. These methods fall into a few repeating themes: containment, absorption, odor control, temporary storage, privacy, and rapid transfer for final disposal. Simple materials around the home: hides, baskets, wooden bowls, peat, moss, ash, snow, and hide liners were repurposed to manage urine and feces safely. Containers served as night pots. Ash and snow acted as natural absorbents and deodorizers. Temporary secluded corners with hide screens offered privacy. And everything intended for long-term removal was handled quickly when weather permitted. Most importantly, these practices were embedded in cultural rules. Use only when necessary. Cover or seal carefully. Remove and bury or burn as soon as it is safe. And respect privacy. The goal was never to make indoor waste a routine, but to prevent contamination and disease while preserving warmth and dignity during extreme weather. Below you'll find 10 practical, specific techniques, each a clear, actionable way people historically managed bathroom needs inside a tipi during brutal winters. No speculation, no off-topic tangents. Just the concise, respectful how-tos and the cultural safeguards that made them effective. When leaving the tipi wasn't an option, small containers served as the primary solution. Hunters and families kept wooden bowls, shallow clay pots, or leather-lined baskets near the bed area for urination. Women sometimes used soft hide funnels or specially shaped hide cups to reduce spillage. These containers were lined with absorbent material, grasses, moss, shredded bark, for comfort and to limit splash. Key practices: containers were used only inside for short periods, covered when not in use, and emptied outside at first safe opportunity. Emptying usually took place during daylight when visibility and safety were better. Containers were not multi-use without cleaning. Once emptied, the interior was rinsed with a snowmelt or wiped with clean snow or fresh water, then allowed to dry near the fire before reuse. Hygiene protocol emphasized containment and prompt removal. Containers were portable and designed for quick transfer outside to prevent odors and contamination in the tipi. This night pot approach minimized trips into the cold while preventing long-term indoor waste. If defecation could not be delayed, a secluded corner near the doorway or a downwind side of the tipi was designated temporarily. That spot was prepared in advance with layers of absorbent materials, soft moss, dried grasses, or shredded bark topped by a generous layer of fire ash. Ash acts as an absorbent and deodorizer and helps dry the waste quickly. Privacy was provided by a hide partition or robe screen hung from an interior pole or placed on a wooden frame. After use, the material used to line the spot, moss/grass bundle, was folded, wrapped in hide, and removed to be buried or burned outside as soon as weather allowed. The underlying ash layer could be swept aside onto a hide for disposal and replaced. This method prioritized immediate odor control and temporary containment. It relied on rapid removal and burial later, not indefinite indoor storage. Cultural rules stressed: use only under necessity. Cover immediately. Dispose at first safe chance. Snow was a versatile immediate resource. Clean, fresh snow was used as a rinse for personal cleansing when liquid water or privacy outside was unavailable. After urination or defecation in a container or temporary corner, snow could be packed into a small bucket to rinse hands, wipe, and reduce odor. For urine, a common practice was to collect into a container, then pour into a snow pit just outside the tent when conditions allowed. In extreme cold, urine poured into deep snow quickly froze or soaked into surrounding snowpack, substantially reducing smell. For fecal matter, snow could be pressed into a temporary pit or used to pack over material wrapped for later burial. Using snow required an understanding of hygiene. Melt or warm hands by the fire afterward to avoid cold-related injury, and ensure snow used for cleansing was clean, not from trafficked or animal-soiled areas. It was a pragmatic, on-hand tool for temporary sanitation. Ash from the central fire played a central role in indoor sanitation. It was sprinkled liberally over urine in containers or over fecal deposits in temporary corners to absorb moisture and neutralize odor. Ash's alkaline properties slow microbial activity and reduce smell, making short-term indoor containment feasible. Practically, ash was kept in a small lidded hide pouch or bowl near the fire for immediate use. After covering waste, the ash-capped bundle or container was sealed under a hide and transferred outside as soon as safe. In warmer months or outside, ash-covered organic waste could be buried directly and would help compost. Crucially, ash use was never a substitute for removal. It allowed a sanitary hold until the community could dispose of material without risking health or warmth. The combination of ash plus prompt external burial minimized disease risk. Privacy was essential, even during emergencies. Small, portable hide screens or robes were hung from interior poles or draped over a simple wooden frame to create a private stall for using a container or temporary latrine area. These screens were lightweight and could be set up in seconds, providing dignity and shielding activities from others in the teepee. The screens also served a hygiene function. They directed any accidental splashes away from bedding and living spaces, and caught stray materials that were then contained and removed. Once the urgent need passed, screens were folded and stored near the door. This practical privacy method minimized interior contamination, while maintaining social norms about modesty, especially for women and elders. It balanced urgency with respect. When indoor containment was used, the next critical step was secure transfer. Items, liners, moss bundles, ash-covered material, or container contents were double-wrapped, first in a hide or cloth, then in a second hide, to seal in odor and fluids before being carried outside. The double wrap prevented drips and made transport manageable, even when snow and wind reduced dexterity. Carriers used gloves or fur mitts and kept the bundle near the door, waiting until daylight or calmer weather. If immediate removal wasn't possible, bundles were stored in a cooler, shaded spot outside the teepee wall, but protected from animals until burial or burning. This wrap and transfer technique reduced indoor contamination risk and was a standard etiquette step. Contain, seal, move when safe. Practical gender adaptations minimized disturbance. Men often used shallow bowls or wooden ladles positioned discreetly near the sleeping area. Women frequently used soft hide funnels or kneeling cloths to reduce splash and simplify containment. Both sexes placed containers inside a lined box or basket to maintain stability on uneven floors. These methods were streamlined for nighttime use, minimal movement, minimal heat loss, and quick cleanup. After use, a small amount of ash or snow was applied to up the absorption and decrease odor before the container was capped and set for removal. These adaptations respected bodily differences while maintaining the same hygiene protocols: immediate cover, secure storage, and prompt disposal. As soon as it was safe, indoor waste was removed and buried in a shallow trench outside, downwind from the camp and away from water sources. During winter, trenching used snow or frozen ground. A shallow depression was cut, waste deposited, and then covered with snow, bark, or earth. In deep freeze, packed snow seals and prevents animal scavenging. The rule: never leave waste exposed. Always bury and cover to prevent contamination and odor. If ground was too frozen for burial, waste was carried to a designated site and left sealed under hide until thaw permitted proper burial. This outside disposal ensured that indoor contingency methods remained temporary, and that long-term sanitation prioritized environmental safety. Hand cleanliness was critical after any indoor handling. People used clean snow or small amounts of melted water to rinse hands, then dried them quickly near the fire. For added antimicrobial effect, aromatic plants, cedar, sage, were burned or briefly used to scent and mildly purify the air. Sleeping areas and bedding near that night's container were checked and aired. Any soiled furs were laundered or dried by the fire and replaced as soon as feasible. The priority was minimizing pathogen spread inside a small, shared environment. These actions reduced illness risk and were embedded in communal teaching. Act quickly, clean thoroughly, and remove waste responsibly. Every technique was bounded by firm cultural rules. Indoor use was only for necessity, during blizzards, storms, or when elder-child safety prevented going out. Privacy and dignity were maintained, with screens and modest protocols. Crucially, waste was never left indoors long-term. Cover, seal, and remove at the first safe opportunity. Children were taught these rules early: how to use a container quietly, how to pack material for burial, and why covering and removal matter for health. Elders guided practices, ensuring the tipi remained a sacred, clean space even under duress. These cultural safeguards are what kept the system sanitary and humane. Simple, temporary measures embedded in a framework of respect and rapid remediation. These indoor sanitation methods were not convenience. They were contingency protocols. Container use, ashen snow for absorption and deodorizing, hide partitions for privacy, double wrapping for safe transfer, and rapid burial or burning outside as soon as permitted. Each tactic balanced warmth, health, and dignity during the most dangerous hours of winter. If you found these practical, respectful techniques surprising, consider how low-tech solutions and local materials solve high-risk problems efficiently. The core principles apply even today. Contain, absorb, seal, transfer, and dispose, and always respect the living space and the people in it. If you want a printable checklist or a short infographic summarizing these 10 emergency sanitation hacks for cold weather sheltering, useful for winter campers or survival planning, say the word and I'll create it next. If this video helped, like, share, and subscribe for more concise, respectful survival lessons drawn from historical practice, focused, practical, and ready for real winter realities.